All right, good morning, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Trowman, has anyone signed up for public comment?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning, sir.
All right, let's dig in. No cases to reconsider under agenda item 3.
Correct. No cases.
We didn't even have time for walk-up music today. Good morning. Let's
Good morning.
see. Let's look at tax liability cases under agenda item 4. 2 tax cases on docket 22 and 2 cases on docket 23.
Yes, sir. The first case on docket 22 is TD 22-031-0822. Commissioner Demerson,
I agree with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino,
I agree with staff recommendations.
Chairman Daniel.
Agree with staff recommendation.
Okay, TD 22-038-1022. Commissioner Demerson,
Agree with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino,
I agree with staff recommendations.
Chairman Daniel.
Agree with staff recommendation.
For docket 23, we have TD 22-037-0822. Commissioner Demerson,
I agree with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino,
I agree with staff recommendations.
Chairman Daniel.
Agree with staff recommendation.
All right, TD 23-008-0323. Commissioner Demerson,
Agree with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino,
I agree with staff's recommendation.
and Chairman Daniel.
Agree with staff recommendation. All right, agenda item 5, no fair housing cases under agenda item 5.
That's correct.
Under agenda item 6, we have no wage claim cases pulled on docket 22, but 1 case on docket 23 pulled for additional discussion.
Yes, sir. It's case number 22-058-099-7. Commissioner Trevino.
The claimant was entitled to collect wages that were due within 180 days when his wage claim was filed. On the claimant's wage claim dated 8/31/22, the claimant noted that he was still employed. We should rehear this case to determine if his final wages were due.
The appeal tribunal decision is supportable. Texas law provides that a claim for unpaid wages must be filed within 180 days after the wages become due for payment. Since wages were paid biweekly, the latest pay period at the end of January 2022 would have been due for payment no later than mid-February 2022. The wage claim was filed August 31st, 2022, and so it could have only covered wages due on or after March 4th, 2022. It's regrettable whenever an employee goes unpaid for their work. Unfortunately, though, TWC does not have any authority to extend the time for filing a wage claim, absent any evidence that the claimant was misled by a TWC employee into thinking that he had more time to file a claim. Under the circumstances of this case, we must vote to affirm the decision of the appeal tribunal that the claimant's wage claim was filed late and must be dismissed.
From the WCAT, wage claim dismissed, not timely.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
That was the only case pulled for additional discussion. You should have received the wage claim short form consent list for docket 22 and 23.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on dockets 22 and 23.
And second, the chairman's motion accepts the cases on which I'm dissenting is reflected in the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 22 and 23.
And I concur with Chairman's motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 22 and docket 23.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to agenda item 7, in consideration of unemployment insurance cases. We'll start with docket 22. Please proceed when you're ready.
Case number 308-1375. Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not supportable. The claimant worked as a caretaker for an individual who had died as a result of COVID. The claimant has provided a death certificate establishing the individual's death was due to respiratory issues. The claimant has provided sufficient information to establish her separation was a result of COVID. Reverse the AT, the claimant is eligible for PUA benefits and send a memo to backdate her claim to 12/20/20, which is the week her client entered into the hospital.
The AG decision is supportable under the available facts. The claimant was a home care worker and her last 2 clients passed away prior to her claim for PUA benefits. However, the most recent client death certificate does not indicate that the patient died due to COVID-19 and there's no other definitive evidence linking the patient's death to the pandemic. Under those facts, there is insufficient evidence to show that the claimant was unemployed due to the pandemic and thus eligible to file a PUA claim, and we should affirm the AT decision. The claimant was ineligible for PUA benefits beginning March 28th, 2021. In the alternative, since not all medical reporting on causes of death is consistent, and it is possible that a COVID-19 related death in this case may have been misreported or classified as something else for unknown reasons, I could go along with the rehearing to allow the claimant an additional opportunity to obtain evidence from other sources, such as the patient's family members, as to whether the patient's death was actually due to the pandemic.
Affirm the AT, PUA not eligible beginning March 28th, 2021.
I'm sorry, March 28th, 2021. Thank you, sir.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Case number 3263914, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not supportable. The claimant attempted to call in for the hearing, but was unable to do so because of technical issues with her phone. She attempted to borrow another phone, and when the issues persisted, the claimant was unable to get through to TWC until the hearing had ended. Reverse the AT, good cause, and resubmit.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision concerning good cause. Although the AT1 hearing notice was sent to the claimant's correct address and record, she failed to attend the hearing due to alleged technical issues with her phone. Since the claimant was aware of the time and date of the AT hearing, her failure to obtain and maintain access to a working phone did not provide her with good cause for missing the AT hearing. Concerning the claimant's appeal to the initial determination, although the claimant received and timely opened the determination dated May 11, 2021, she filed her appeal almost 4 months after the deadline to file a timely appeal. Since there are no good cause exceptions to the timeliness rules, we should dismiss the claimant's appeal as late. As such, we should affirm the AT decision. The claimant did not establish good cause for missing the AT1 hearing. Untimely claimant appeal, voluntary leaving.
Reverse the AT, claimant established good cause for AT1, resubmit.
We will resubmit the
Case number 3273836, Commissioner Demerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. The claimant's separation arose from procedures that were implemented by the employer due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As such, the claimant should continue to be qualified for benefits, and the employer's account should be protected due to disaster. Should therefore modify the AT decision, no voluntary leaving, no chargeback, disaster.
The claimant was separated as a result of a vaccine mandate. The employer was required to have a mandate by a federal order. The claimant had not agreed to a vaccine mandate when hired and had sought a religious exemption. The claimant's separation was with good cause connected with the work. Since the mandate was related to the pandemic and beyond the employer's control, it would be appropriate to protect the employer's account. Modify the AT, no voluntary leaving, no chargeback, disaster.
Reverse the AT, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response. Short form dissent.
yes, sir. Thank you.
Case number 3284760, Commissioner Demerson.
On docket 19, the commission voted that the claimant's appeal was timely regarding the job separation. The claimant was discharged for insubordinate behavior during a meeting with management to discuss her medical accommodation request. The claimant was uncooperative, argumentative, failed to follow instructions, and walked out of the meeting. The claimant stated that she had an audio recording of the final incident. This evidence is clearly relevant and arguably the best evidence of the party's behavior and interaction during the meeting. Therefore, before rendering our decision in this case, we should rehear for submission and review of this audio recording.
The decision is not correct. We have previously ruled that the claimant's appeal was timely. Regarding the job separation, the claimant is the only party to provide firsthand testimony. The employer alleges that the claimant was discharged because of her behavior during a meeting, because she expressed frustration and slammed a door. The claimant had denied even closing a door and denied acting inappropriately. The employer has failed to provide sufficient evidence to establish misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, timely appeal, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Read here.
We'll read it.
Case number 3344595. Commissioner Dimerson,
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision regarding good cause. The claimant did not arrange for anyone to check her mail while she was out of town for 9 days. She returned the day prior to the hearing, but nonetheless failed to participate. The claimant's allegation that she did not remember if she received the hearing notice does not constitute a clear and direct statement of non-receipt, sufficient to credibly and persuasively rebut the presumption of receipt. Thus, the claimant did not establish good cause for a non-appearance. As to the job separation, the claimant failed to follow proper procedures after multiple warnings. Because the claimant knew that continuing to make the same mistakes would result in her discharge, the claimant's actions constituted misconduct connected with the work. Should modify the AT decision. The claimant did not have good cause for her non-appearance, misconduct, no chargeback, sever the adequate response issue.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant did not receive the notice of the hearing and establish good cause for missing the hearing. Regarding the separation, the claimant was moved to a new position shortly before her discharge. The claimant was working to the best of her ability, and her inability to perform the new position to the employer's standards did not constitute misconduct. Reverse the AT, good cause, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response ruling.
Reverse the AT, claim to establish good cause for AT1, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
Short form dissent. Thank you.
case number 3361928. Commissioner Dimerson,
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. In the absence of testimony from the claimant, the employer has met its burden of proving that the claimant separated under disqualifying circumstances, whether the separation is viewed as a discharge or a quit. If viewed as a discharge by failing to consistently follow the required clock in and clock out procedures, the claimant mismanaged her position of employment and was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. If viewed as a quit by leaving the employer to go to her father's new home health provider, the claimant quit for personal reasons and not good cause connected with the work. Accordingly, we should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The decision is supportable. The claimant's separation from employment occurred when the client for whom she provided home health care services through the employer's agency decided to switch care to a different provider agency. Therefore, it was not established that the claimant either indicated the separation or was discharged for any work connected with misconduct. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
I'm going to agree with the chairman. Okay, thank you.
Okay, short form dissent, ma'am.
case number 3370272. Commissioner Trevino,
The decision is not correct. The claimant was unable to attend the hearing because he was assisting his father who was undergoing a surgical procedure. The claimant was needed to help his father communicate with medical personnel. The claimant has established good cause for his non-appearance. Reverse the AT, good cause, and resubmit.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision concerning good cause. Although the AT1 hearing packet was mailed to the claimant's correct address of record, he failed to appear at the hearing due to personal circumstances. The claimant alleged that his father's surgery was the reason for him missing the AT hearing, but the evidence failed to establish that the surgery coincided with the date and time of the AT hearing. Since the claimant was not prevented from appearing at the AT hearing due to circumstances beyond his control, the claimant did not establish good cause. Concerning the job separation, the claimant was separated for oversleeping through his assigned lunch break. Since the record shows that the claimant's separation arose from him sleeping on the job, the claimant's conduct was mismanagement of his position of employment. As such, we should affirm the AT decision. The claimant did not establish good cause for missing the AT1 hearing. Misconduct, no chargeback.
Affirm the AT, claimant did not establish good cause for AT1 misconduct, no chargeback.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Case number 3387261, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was aware and acknowledged that the employer's zero tolerance policy, which prohibited aggressive or violent behavior at the workplace. The claimant was terminated when he engaged in a verbal altercation with a coworker where he threatened the infliction of physical harm. The employer provided numerous firsthand witness statements which lend credence to the claimant's impropriety. Since the claimant was aware of the employer's rule on proper conduct at the workplace, the claimant's violation of the employer's policy was mismanagement of his position of employment. As such, we should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response. In the alternative, the commission should rehear this case. The employer, in its appeal to the commission, stated that their firsthand witness, who had been unavailable for the first hearing, could testify about the final incident. Since testimony from the employer's additional witness is critical to ascertain the nature of the claimant's separation, the commission should conduct a rehearing to question the employer's additional witnesses.
The decision is correct. Although the employer alleges that they discharged the claimant for being an aggressor during a verbal altercation with another employee, the employer did not present any firsthand testimony about the incident. The claimant, on the other hand, testified that the other employee was the aggressor and that the first person to use profanity during the altercation. Furthermore, there is no evidence that the employer disciplined the other employee for his role in the altercation. Therefore, the employer did not meet its burden of showing that the claimant committed misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Rehear.
We will review the case.
Case number 3428716, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not supportable. The employer discharged the claimant after her 19-year-old daughter, who has a mental disability, showed up unexpectedly at the claimant's office. The daughter was upset and called the claimant's moments before showing up. The claimant tried to discourage her daughter from coming to the office, but she showed up shortly thereafter and bypassed the receptionist, going straight to the claimant's office. The claimant managed to calm her daughter down a few minutes and then sent her home. The claimant had no real control over the daughter showing up, and her daughter did not cause a scene at the office. And the claimant acted promptly to calm her daughter down and to send her home. This should not be considered misconduct on the claimant's part. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, no overpayment, send memo to UIA and OS address requalification issue.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. The weight of the evidence establishes that the claimant failed to prevent her personal family affairs from interfering with her work. As such, the AT decision is supportable. We should therefore affirm the AT decision, misconduct, overpayment.
Affirm the AT, misconduct, overpayment, and a memo as recommended by staff.
And short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
On docket 22, turning down. My apologies. That was the last case on docket 22, turning now to docket 23.
Let me dispatch with the short form dissent list for docket 22. Can we do that, or do we need to do them all at the same time?
We certainly can. Yes, sir. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 22.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 22, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 22.
I second the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting is reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 22.
And I concur with chairman's motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 22.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will turn to docket
Please.
23, sir. Thank you.
Case number 3096410, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should grant a rehearing in this case. I acknowledge that the employer's witness appeared ill prepared for the hearing. However, it also appears that several relevant questions were not asked during the hearing and that the record was not adequately developed. In its appeal to the commission, the employer states that it mailed its appeal on November 18th, 2020, which was prior to the appeal deadline. Based on this statement, we should rehear to further develop the record on the issue of when the employer mailed its appeal.
The decision is supportable. The employer's appeal envelope has a postal meter date, which was 1 day after the appeal deadline. The employer was unable to provide any testimony establishing an earlier appeal date. Affirm the AT, employer appeal not timely, chargeback.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case.
Case number 3100579, Commissioner Trevino,
The AT decision should be modified. I'm not disputing that the claimant filed a late appeal and did not furnish information to complete his claim certifications. However, regarding the reporting issue, the claimant did not receive the instructions to contact the TWC. As the TWC can assume jurisdiction over the reporting issue as of August 2nd, 2021, the reporting and eligibility should be closed as of August 7th, 2021. Modify the AT, late appeal, filing ineligible 7/4/21 through 7/10/21, and 7/11/21 through 7/17/21. Reporting ineligible from 7/25/21 through 8/7/21.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. The claimant did not provide any testimony that would result in modifying his ineligibilities to dates other than what has been established by the appeal tribunal. As such, we should affirm the AT decision, untimely claimant appeal, filing not eligible from July 4th, 2021 through July 10th, 2021, filing not eligible from July 11th, 2021 through July 17th, 2021, reporting not eligible from July 25th, 2021 through August 14th, 2021.
Affirm the AT, untimely claimant appeal, reporting not eligible July 25th, 2021 through August 14th, 2021, filing not eligible from July 4th, 2021 to July 10th, 2021, filing not eligible from July 11th, 2021 to July 17th, 2021.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
case number 3194350, Commissioner Dimerson,
I agree that the motion for rehearing should have been granted. Concerning the job separation, we should reverse the prior commission appeals decision. The claimant was discharged for selling a part below cost and for failing to timely submit payment for that part to the employer. The claimant alleged not knowing he was selling the part for a significant loss. However, regarding the payment issue, the claimant admitted that he delayed submitting the payment to the employer for over a month. Thus, the claimant clearly mismanaged his position of employment. Accordingly, we should grant the motion for rehearing and reverse the CA decision. Misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The decision is supportable. The claimant was discharged for mischarging on a part and inputting a check later than the employer would have preferred. The claimant has provided firsthand testimony to establish that he was unaware of the price was too low and that he had been unable to enter the check due to other employees at the counter. The employer has failed to provide insufficient or sufficient evidence to establish that the claimant committed misconduct connected with the work. Grant MR, no misconduct, chargeback.
Grant the motion for rehearing, set aside previous CA decision, reverse the AT, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
case number 3195131, Commissioner Trevino,
The claimant submitted a change of address with the United States Postal Service. While the claimant was regularly checking her mail at the old address and new address, unbeknownst to the claimant, the post office was holding her mail. She provided credible and persuasive testimony of delayed receipt at the AT2 decision. As such, the claimant's appeal to the AT2 decision should be deemed timely. Timely CA appeal and resubmit for a summary of the merits.
The claimant's appeal to the commission should be dismissed as late because it was filed beyond the applicable deadline. There are no good cause exceptions to the timeliness rules. The claimant did submit a change of address but it was after the appeal deadline had expired. Accordingly, we should dismiss the claimant's CA appeal as late, untimely claimant Rule 16 petition to reopen voluntary leaving.
Timely commission appeal, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3198757. Commissioner Dimerson,
The commission should rehear this case. Although the employer offered to provide a first-hand witness, the hearing officer failed to grant a continuance to allow for first-hand testimony from this witness. Since testimony from the employer's additional witness is critical to understand the nature of the claimant's separation, we should conduct a rehearing to question this witness and to further develop the record regarding the separation. Rehear.
The decision should be modified. The claimant had good cause for missing the first hearing due to a personal illness. The claim was valid because the claimant had stopped performing work and receiving pay at the time of the claim was filed. Regarding the work separation, the evidence established that the employer discharged the claimant when they told him to go home and not to come back. The employer failed to meet its burden of proving the claimant engaged in actions that could be considered misconduct connected with the work. Modify the AT. The claimant had good cause for missing AT1. Valid initial claim, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case.
case number 3235035. Commissioner Dimerson,
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. The employer, the only party to the AT hearing, provided testimony that the claimant was aware of the employer's rule, which mandated periodic overtime work. On the date he was assigned to work overtime, the claimant left the employer's workplace prior to the end of his assigned shift. Although the employer advised the claimant that leaving prior to the end of the shift would constitute abandonment of employment, the claimant nonetheless left the employer's premises without authorization. Since the claimant refused to perform the essential job task and thereafter abandoned his job in violation of the employer's reasonable request, the claimant's conduct was mismanagement of his position of employment. As such, we should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer's testimony cannot be given much weight as it is inconsistent with the employer's previous fact-finding statements. The evidence in the record establishes that the employer was unaware that was aware that the claimant could not work overtime on the day of the question because he needed to meet with an exterminator at his house. The claimant had already worked his full regular schedule, and there's no evidence that had previously agreed to work overtime on that date. As the claimant's unwillingness to work overtime on this occasion was not unreasonable under the circumstances, the claimant was not guilty of misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
case number 3319612. Commissioner Dimerson,
The appeal tribunal decision should be reversed in its entirety. Regarding timeliness, the employer provided testimony to the appeal tribunal that it did not receive the determination in question. As such, the employer's appeal should be deemed timely. As to the job separation, the claimant was discharged due to attendance issues. The claimant was warned that her job was in jeopardy, but continued to be absent thereafter. As such, the claimant's actions constituted work-connected misconduct. We should therefore reverse the AT decision, timely employer appeal, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The employer was given an opportunity at the prior commission rehearing to provide testimony as to when their address changed and how such change may have affected their receipt of the determination. However, the employer failed to provide any such testimony at the rehearing and failed to overcome the presumption of a timely delivery of that determination. Affirm the AT, late appeal, no misconduct, chargeback. If the employer's appeal is deemed timely, the evidence established that the claimant was discharged after she missed work due to illness. The claimant should remain qualified for benefits and the employer's account should be protected from chargeback. Modify AT, timely appeal, no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
Reverse the AT, timely employer appeal, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3378492, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was suffering from mental health issues and was discharged after missing 2 days of work. However, the employer did not follow its own attendance policy, which allowed for 3 consecutive days of unreported absences before involuntary discharging an employee. On the 3rd day, the claimant reported his absence and tried to request a leave of absence for his health concerns. Under the employer's policy, the claimant's actions did not constitute misconduct. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, void chargeback.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was aware of the employer's policy, which stated that excessive absenteeism could result in termination of employment. The claimant was terminated when he was absent from work for 2 consecutive days without authorization. Since the claimant was aware of the employer's attendance standards, his violation of the employer's rule by being absent without authorization was mismanagement of his position of employment. As such, we should affirm the AT decision, misconduct, void the chargeback ruling.
Affirm the AT, misconduct, void chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3381147, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not supportable. The claimant opted for a schedule which required only 4 hours per week to remain in compliance with the employer's attendance policy. While on a planned vacation, the employer changed the claimant's schedule and required her to work 30 hours that week to avoid attendance violations. As the claimant was already on a vacation, she was unable to work the newly required hours and was discharged. Since the claimant's schedule requirements were changed without notice, the claimant's failure to work the schedule was not misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was discharged for exceeding the allowable attendance points under the employer's policy. In a fact-finding statement, she admitted that the final attendance infraction resulted from her oversleeping. Thus, because the claimant had been warned about her attendance and continued to accrue points in violation of the employer's policy, she was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Should affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
Affirm the AT, misconduct, no chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3387082, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not correct. The claimant's final absence was due to a doctor's appointment. The claimant had sought permission prior to her absence. Since the claimant's final absence was for a medical reason, the claimant should be qualified for benefits and the employer's account protected from charge. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision because the claimant's request for time off had not been approved, yet she was nonetheless absent. She mismanaged her position of employment. Should affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
Affirm the AT, misconduct, no chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3388427, Commissioner Demerson.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. Although the claimant alleged work-related stress as the premise for her resignation, the record shows that the employer attempted to resolve the claimant's concerns and assisted her in the performance of her task. The claimant quit based on her belief that she was not a good fit for the job. Furthermore, although the claimant alleged medical complications, the record suggests that she did not inform the employer about her medical concerns or allow the employer an opportunity to accommodate her needs. Finally, because the record suggests that the claimant's work was suitable and she was paid above her maximum wage demand, 207.045 G1 is not applicable. As such, we should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving.
The AT decision is not supportable. The work was not suitable for the claimant because of the stress of the job was negatively affecting the claimant's health condition. A separation caused by the claimant's health condition is involuntary and should not disqualify the claimant from benefits. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving.
Affirm the AT, voluntary leaving.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3459362, Commissioner Dimerson,
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. Based on the evidence and the testimony in this case, the claimant needed to obtain a food handling license to be in compliance with the state's food program. Since the claimant was not able to obtain the license in accordance with the timeline set by the employer, her separation was a result of the operation of law. As such, the claimant should continue to be qualified for benefits, but the employer's account should be protected. We should therefore modify the AT decision, no misconduct, no chargeback, operation of law. In the alternative, I could also support a vote to rehear this case to further develop the record on the state law pertaining to the claimant's license requirement. Rehear.
The AT decision is supportable. There is no place on the suspension notice where the claimant could express her disagreement with the suspension. Additionally, regardless of whether or not the claimant produced a food handling license, the evidence established that after the suspension that she would have only been returned a part-time position rather than her former full-time position. The claimant was within her right to refuse to sign a document presented to her in light of such a material change in her hiring agreement. Under these circumstances, the claimant refused to sign the suspension notice and did not constitute misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback. An alternative could be no misconduct, no chargeback, an operation of law.
Reverse the AT, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with the chairman.
Misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response? Yes, sir.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir. And that was the last UI case pulled for additional discussion on docket 23. We will now turn to the UI short form dissent list for docket 23.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 23, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 23.
I second the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting is reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 23.
I concur with chairman's motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 23.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of agenda items 3 through 7. We'll take a short recess.
Started here. We ended. Not thought about
This is agenda item 8, purchasing from people with disabilities advisory committee appointments.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Cerner. I'm Kelvin Moore with the Voc Rehab Division. Texas Human Resources Code at section 122.0057A authorizes the commission to appoint members to the advisory committee of the Purchasing from People with Disabilities Program. In keeping with that requirement, we have recommendations for the appointment of 4 new members to the advisory committee. The 4 new appointments, if approved, will fill positions that became vacant in February of 2023. The recommendations, appointments and the categories they represent are as follows. Veronica Estala Gutierrez, El Paso, Texas, advocate representative. Manuel Fields, Houston, Texas, CRP representative. Pamela Bullock, Rusk, Texas, disabled, non-CRP. Michael Phillips, Austin, Texas, disability from a CRP. Staff recommends the appointment of these 4 new members to the first 4 years term as PPD Advisory Committee members, with terms to end in February 2027. That concludes the recommendations. Are there any further questions?
Any questions or comments?
Big Kevin says, keep my name out of his mouth. Out of my mouth, rather. So, okay.
Definitely five. Yeah. Questions?
None.
No comments.
No questions.
This motion, I move to approve the appointment of the following individuals to serve on the Purchasing from People with Disabilities Advisory Committee with terms to expire in February 2027, as described in the discussion paper and presented today by staff. Veronica Estala Gutierrez, Manuel Fields, Pamela Bullock, and Michael Phillips.
I second the motion.
It's been moved second and vote unanimous. Thank you. So agenda item 9, JET Advisory Board recommendations for fiscal year 2023 JET grant awards.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, my name is Matt Snidecki. I'm the Program Manager for the Jobs and Education for Texans Grant Program. Before you today for your consideration is a recommendation regarding FY 2023 JET Grant Awards. Texas Education Code Section C states the advisory board shall meet at least once each quarter or as needed to review received applications and recommend awarding grants under this chapter. On May 24th, 2023, the JET Advisory Board made the following recommendation to the Commission: to direct staff to move forward with awarding grants based on the final evaluation score, with ability to move down the list 50 points and above should additional funds become available during the contracting phase. Staff seeks direction regarding JET awards for FY 2023 as recommended by the JET Advisory Board.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
I just want to say that these JET grants will be a great investment in the training of our future workforce. And this program is one of many that illustrates the importance of TWC's involvement with youth initiatives. Thank you, Matt, and your team.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the Jobs and Education for Texans Grant Awards for fiscal year 2023 as recommended by the JET Advisory Board and in conformity with the final evaluation scoring, and allow staff the ability to move down the list of applicants scoring 50 points and above as funds become available during contract negotiations.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded and we're unanimous. This is agenda item 10, Jet Advisory Board recommendations for fiscal year 2024 program parameters.
Thank you, Chairman. For the record, Matt Snidecki, Program Manager for the Jobs and Education for Texans Program. The second recommendation today is regarding FY 2024 parameters. On May 24th, 2023, the Jet Advisory Board met to discuss the program parameters and funding allocation. The following recommendation was made to the commission. The first is the funding allocation that will be split 60%, 40% in favor of open enrollment charter schools and school districts. The second is the minimum and maximum grant amount that will be $40,000 and $350,000 respectively. The third is the number of applications per eligible applicant. That number will be one. That's one application per eligible applicant. And the fourth is the minimum point threshold for award eligibility, and that will be 55 points. Staff seeks direction regarding the adoption and implementation of the program parameters for FY 2024 as recommended by the Jet Advisory Board.
Any comments or questions?
So, Mr. Matt, we're moving from 50 to 55.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. No other questions.
Yeah, no comments or questions here.
Is there a motion?
So motion, I move to adopt the Jobs and Education Protections Program parameters for fiscal year 2024 as recommended by the Jet Advisory Board and described in the discussion paper presented today by staff.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded and we're unanimous. Thank you. It's agenda item 11. WIOA funding to support eligible and qualified applicants in the building and construction trades program.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, I'm Joel Mullins with the Workforce Development Division. On July 5th, 2022, the Commission approved $1.8 million in Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funds for the Building Construction Trades Initiative, which provides expedited training to individuals pursuing certification and employment in building and construction careers. On February 13th, 2023, TWC issued the Building Construction Trades Request for Applications. Because of the quantity of eligible applicants who responded and qualified for a grant award, the budget necessary to fully support the initiative exceeds the $1.8 million the Commission approved in the fiscal year 2023 operating budget. Today, staff recommends that the Commission fund all eligible and qualified building construction trade applicants by increasing the amount of WIOA funds for this initiative from $1.8 million to $1,984,000 or $1,984,590, which is an increase of $184,590. I'm available to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
None here.
And then here.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move to approve the funding of all eligible and qualified building and construction trade grant applications through the increase of WIOA funds for this initiative to $1,984,590 as recommended today by staff.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded and we're unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see here. We have nothing on agenda items 12 and 13. Agenda item 14, a legislative report. I think it's even a new tie, Commissioner Demerson.
Oh, it's not even blue.
I hadn't seen that one before.
After session.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, Michael Britt, Governmental Relations. The 88th Texas Legislature regular session adjourned sine die last Monday. This morning, I want to provide you with an overview of TWC's appropriations, legislative initiatives, and highlight a few of the major bills TWC monitored during the legislative session. Before I start, though, I would like to say thank you to everyone who was called upon to serve as a resource witness this session. And we're often here early and in a few cases stayed well into the night to fulfill this role. Chairman Daniel, Mr. Cerna, Courtney Arbor, Reagan Miller, Mary York, Eric Holland, Chuck Ross, Brian Snoddy, Carrie Ballas, Mariana Vega, and Chris Nelson. I apologize if I left anyone out, but again, we really appreciate everyone's efforts. During this session, the agency tracked 1,199 bills and agency staff did prepare over 2,000 impact and cost analysis on different pieces of legislation. For appropriations for the upcoming fiscal year 2024-2025 biennium, House Bill 1 appropriates TWC 2.56 billion for FY 24 and 2.63 billion in FY 25 in all funds. House Bill 1 also approved all of TWC's capital budget exceptional item requests. These included the customer care main door portal, labor law system enhancements, cash drawn expenditure systems, childcare single information portal, telecenter telecommunications upgrades, supply and demand tool system upgrades, AEL system replacement, preschool development grant eligibility screener, and foster youth drivers education reimbursements. House Bill 1 also includes funding for all of TWC's exceptional item requests, and this includes 35 million in additional fiscal year 25 childcare matching funds, $650,000 for the biennium for additional FTEs in the Civil Rights Division, 15 million in additional funding for the JET program for the biennium, an additional 5.6 million in pre-apprenticeship career pathways fundings. TWC's original request for that item had been 7.5 million for the biennium. 20 million for the biennium for the industry recognized apprenticeship program, and an additional 18.8 million for the skills development fund. And again, on the skills development ask, our original request had been 25 million for that item. In addition to all that, TWC also received $5 million for the biennium in funding for the Lone Star Workforce of the Future Fund, which was authorized by House Bill 1755 this session. The budget also included several new riders for TWC. These riders included a new rider that provides TWC with unexpended balance authority during each year of the biennium for the Skills Development Fund and JET program, and a new rider providing for the reimbursement expenses for advisory committee members, and a new rider that requests TWC to provide a report to the legislature with information on necessary upgrades to the state unemployment insurance data system, including cost and statutory limitations to allow for the enhanced reporting of employment and earnings data as part of routine wage filings required by TWC. This session, the legislature passed one of TWC's 4 legislative proposals, and that was House Bill 2459 by Representative Vo, relating to the administration of violations and administrative penalties of the employment of children. And that bill has been sent to the governor and is awaiting his action. The other 3 TWC legislative proposals that were ultimately not passed by the legislature was House Bill 2907 by Representative Button, and that's relating to measures to prevent and address fraud in the administration of the Texas Unemployment Compensation Act, providing an administrative penalty. House Bill 2458 by Representative Vo, relating to claimant eligibility and initial claims under the unemployment compensation system, and House Bill 2586 by Representative Button, relating to participation in the reemployment services as a condition of eligibility for unemployment benefits. Legislation regarding childcare that passed, House Bill 1615 by Representative Button. This bill requires TWC to establish a pre-kindergarten partnership program to assist child care providers in partnering with local school districts and charter schools. The bill also requires TWC to partner with the Texas Education Agency to develop joint strategies to expand the availability of pre-K partnership programs, and for TWC to establish and administer a professional development scholarship program for current and prospective child care workers. House Bill 2729 by Representative Harris. This bill makes changes to the requirements for pre-kindergarten teachers. It removes requirements for pre-K teachers to obtain and hold a valid certificate or permit issued by the State Board of Educator Certification until September 1st, 2029. And in place of that requirement, requires that teachers be supervised by a certified teacher that ensures program compliance and supports classroom instruction. The bill also requires that these pre-K teachers must meet one of several criteria, including having at least 2 years experience teaching in a nationally accredited or TRS childcare program and possess a childcare development associate or other early childhood credential. Moving on to workforce bills, House Bill 1775, which I mentioned a moment ago by Representative Button. This bill established the Lone Star Workforce of the Future Fund and authorizes TWC to provide grants of up to $15,000 per eligible entity to coordinate and deliver workforce training programs in high growth career fields as identified by TWC, the Texas Workforce Investment Council, or the Tri-Agency Workforce Initiative. The bill also establishes an advisory board to assist TWC in the administration of the fund. The governor has signed this bill and it will become effective on September 1st of this year. And as I also just mentioned, TWC was allocated $5 million for the biennium in House Bill 1 for the provision of these grants. We also had House Bill 2575 by Representative Button, and this bill amends the eligibility requirements for a provider participating in the Workforce Diploma Pilot Program established under the Texas Labor Code. The new requirements require that in order to receive funding to participate in the program, a provider who is not authorized by state law to issue a high school diploma must be accredited by a regional accrediting body and be working in partnership with an entity authorized under the Texas Education Code or other state law to grant a high school diploma in Texas. Governor Abbott has also signed this bill and it becomes effective on September 1st as well. Next, we had House Bill 1703 by Representative Ordaz, and this bill requires TWC to establish and administer a pilot program in the Borderplex Workforce Board area to collect and evaluate cross-sectional data and longitudinal supplemental data regarding career education and training programs for the purposes of identifying successful program components and any gaps in the data used to follow up on career education and training programs completion maintained by TWC, TEA, and the Higher Education Coordinating Board. Under this bill, TWC is required to submit a report to the legislature no later than December 1st of 2028 on the results of the pilot program. The bill also requires that any modernizations of the systems TWC uses to evaluate self-sufficient wage data that occur on or after September 1st of 2023 must include modernizing the system to provide analysis regarding the attainment of employment paying a self-sufficient wage following the completion of career education and training programs, as well as detailed information on the services provided with each offered program. Next, we had Senate Bill 2315 by Senator Hughes. This bill creates a task force to develop a plan for the consolidation of workforce development programs at TWC and social service programs provided through the Health and Human Services Commission if federal law is ever amended to allow such action. TWC and the Health and Human Services Commission are also directed to provide administrative support to the task force as necessary. And the task force is required to submit a report to the legislature not later than December 31st of 2024, outlining their recommended consolidation plan. We have one bill related to adult education and literacy, and that was House Bill 1602 by Representative Guillen. This bill requires TWC to establish annual performance requirements that entities must satisfy in order to qualify for continued award of AEL funding and for TWC to give priority in awarding AEL funds to entities that consistently satisfy these annual performance requirements. Governor Abbott has signed this bill into law and it becomes effective on September 1st of this year. Regarding apprenticeship, we had House Bill 4451 by Representative Bojani. And this bill requires TWC to submit a report to the legislature, the Texas Workforce Investment Council, and the Apprenticeship and Training Advisory Committee no later than September 1st of each year on available apprenticeship programs in this state to make recommendations to expand the availability of apprenticeship programs in emerging and high demand industries. Finally, we had two bills related to vocational rehabilitation. House Bill 728 by Representative Rose, which establishes a statewide interagency services coordinating council, requires the council to develop a recurring 5-year statewide interagency aging services strategic plan, submit that plan to the executive head of agencies subject to the plan no later than November 1st of each year. And TWC will serve as a member of this council. And House Bill 729 by Representative Rose establishes a statewide intellectual and developmental disability coordinating council to ensure that the state develops a strategic approach for the provision of intellectual and developmental disability services in the state and submit the strategic plan to the executive head of agencies subject to the plan by March 1st in the last state fiscal year of the most recent 5-year period. And as well, TWC serves on that council as well. In conclusion, I would just like to take one quick moment to recognize the GR team for all their hard work this session. We are joined by them in the back of the room. Kimberly Berry, Joe Dyer, Betsy Hawkins, and Allison Robertson, who's joining us online. They really did an outstanding job this session, and it is truly my privilege to work alongside them each and every day. They've spent many long hours, days, nights, weekends, reading file bills, coordinating agency analysis of legislation, working with legislative offices on policy questions and constituent casework, and of course, monitoring the floor actions of the legislature. And they, as a team, also covered over 200 committee hearings this legislative session. So again, just thank you to the GR team for all their hard work. And with that, finally, that concludes my remarks, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any comments or questions?
Am I going to ask your team to stand? I recognize the ones that you recognize, and so.
They tried to avoid that.
Thank you. I had one question on you mentioned the reimbursement of advisory members. Was that particular to JET or any advisory members in particular?
In general, for any advisory committee,
Any advisory committee? Okay,
operate or working with TWC, yes, sir.
okay, good, great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And executive director's report.
I have my tie on as well, but
I know.
but I normally do, so. Just a couple of things. First off, I wanted to join Michael in expressing appreciation to the government relations team and also to the staff of the agency. In addition to the staff that testified in government relations, that covered all those hearings and floor sessions and everything else. A lot of staff spent countless hours analyzing bills, writing up bill analysis, fiscal notes, developing fiscal notes and revised fiscal notes based on bill amendments. A lot of that staff in the program divisions goes unrecognized because they do it while they're still doing their regular job. But they did an outstanding job meeting the deadlines of the legislature, the LBB, and the Ledge Council and the executive office here. So my compliments to them as well as the government relations staff. Just a couple of things I want to make sure that you all are aware. For both of these next things that I'm going to mention, we're waiting to hear what impact the recent signing of the debt ceiling bill will have on it. But we did receive something from DOL saying there may be some changes to some of the future federal grants based on available funding. That's fine. We'll work with that. But we are going to be submitting a grant application for a couple of grants. The first involves UI system integrity. Everything that's required in the grant are things that we are already doing. We'll be seeking about $6.9 million to further enhance our efforts to ensure that our UI system is handling and paying claims to the people that deserve it and not to fraudulent claimants. And then second, a small grant from DOL, $50,000 that UI will be taking the lead on, and basically to reimburse us for the cost of providing information to DOL in response to some of the requests that they get. Both of these will be submitting grant applications in the near future. I think the one for the UI integrity isn't due until July, but we will see what the impact from the recent bill signing will have on the availability of these funds. ETA did warn us of that. And then the last thing I want to mention is phase one of our child care case management system has been selected to win a Best in Texas award at the upcoming Texas Digital Government Summit that will be here in Austin in June. The system won Best Application Serving an Agency's Business Needs category. This is phase one of a project to replace our childcare system. This particular phase of the system will simplify the check-in and check-out process for childcare participants. It'll streamline our monitoring and management compliance. And then also it helped guard against misuse of the system. So we're very pleased that it's been recognized as an outstanding system. Of course, we knew that it was an outstanding system, but we're very pleased that Governing Magazine at the Digital Government Summit will recognize it as well. And with that, I have no other remarks, but we'll entertain any questions that y'all may have of me.
Any questions or comments?
So Ed, thank you for the report. So the UI system integrity, those are RFP opportunities. Are you going to bring those back before the commission with the new, the federal grants approval process, or are those already?
This is me letting you all know that unless one of y'all has a question about that, we'll proceed with submitting the grant application.
Okay, and so I'm going to make sure I'm totally clear. So this flow chart that I have here, it's in my packet. I'm not sure. Federal grants approval process. It says ED reports to commission, then it says commission decision, and then there's a yes or no component to that.
There's a decision only if the commission decides that it needs additional information or wants to weigh in because it's a policy item. Perhaps we're submitting a grant for some new program that we haven't done before. Then y'all can request additional information, at which case then we'll turn it into an agenda item. It'll be posted at a future meeting and we'll bring it back for decision. But in
Okay.
this case, unless that's the case for one of these two grants, they won't come back around.
Okay, and so we'll talk about it a little bit later because the word commission decision that's listed here, I don't know if we're taking any formal action with the commission decision or if not, so.
You can't take any formal action right now, and none of these are posted for formal, but if any commissioner chooses to ask a little bit more, and we can certainly set up briefings and then turn it into an agenda item if any commissioner thinks that needs to be the case, but if not, then we'll just proceed with it.
Okay, I'll visit with you on the flow chart so that
Okay.
we're all in sync there, so.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. All right,
Any other questions or comments for Ed?
not for Ed.
Is there any other order of business come before the commission? Commissioner Demerson?
Yeah, Chairman and Commissioner Trevino, a number of things. First of all, I wanted to say to Ed and the team, thank you for your leadership during this session as well. It's been a pretty phenomenal session and we're respected across the street in big ways. And so that speaks to your leadership and the team. The ability to deliver does not go unnoticed. And so we appreciate the work that's done. All the reports that came up, even today, Matthew Snodike and Laurie and the entire team with JET presentations, all of that's working. As a commission representing employers, there's a lot of benefit to the employers out there in the work that we're doing day in and day out. And so a couple of other things, we had an internship opportunity for rural employers, community and rural employers through our Texas Interns United initiative. Thank you, gentlemen, for participating in that program as well received. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that had an opportunity to attend a hireability ceremony out in Louisville, Texas, pretty phenomenal, and had RCT members that were there of advisory council. And that was the first time that I've been in attendance with those members as well, and how receptive they were to being included in those areas. And a number of folks that were, it was Bakery Express, that was the name of the company, Bakery Express, and the work that they're doing. So if you're attending or going to any 7-Eleven, the donuts, the bakeries that you see in that store, they're produced out of this company out of Louisville, Texas as well. A couple of other things, Project Search graduations, just phenomenal to see the opportunities that we're providing to folks with disabilities in that space. The employers, in this case, were the healthcare systems, Texas Health Presbyterian in Dallas, and then Ascension Seton here in Austin, putting folks to work. And then lastly, this past weekend, I had an opportunity to attend a signing day at Tesla. And you had these students that were being changed because they were making a decision to leave high school, getting ready to start their career. And they had about 5 different school districts, Dale Valley, Manor, Austin Independent School Districts, and some others. And these were students and their parents that were getting ready to embark on a 7-week program at ACC. And after that completion of that program where they're being paid, they'll become Tesla employees at that point, working on their manufacturing plant. And so the manufacturing community, we're out as well celebrating that, but a real nice event with a number of students that are getting ready to take place, go forward. And a lot of the training that's been done is through some of our skills development fund work that's happening there. And so I see Mary here, the team that you have there, are doing some phenomenal work in that regard to make things happen. And those employers are appreciative of it, and it benefits the employees. And so I wanted to kind of mention a few of those things that are happening. And that just reflects back to the good work that I started with, the work, Ed, that you and your team are doing at the top.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Well said, Commissioner Demerson. Also, I just wanted to introduce somebody that's going to be our law clerk intern this summer. It's Clara Magala. You please stand. She's originally from Dallas, Texas. She graduated from Texas A&M, and she will be attending University of Texas Law School. So we welcome her to the office.
Oh, thank you. I have an introduction as well. This is Lauren Mamrush. You have to stand up. She is she's be a 3rd-year law student at Texas A&M Law School in Fort Worth, and she's graduated Different Springs High School, University of Texas at Dallas. Thrilled to have her on board. She's told me yesterday she was interested in policy work and perhaps looking at a career in government. And so I've got a whole program planned out for you now. We're going to work on some stuff this summer. So welcome on board. We really appreciate you, these, Commissioner Demerson preaches on this often, and I'm just the hype man on this, but, these internships are absolutely incredible. TWC has a very robust program. Other employers are doing this, but we need more of these. You can learn an awful lot. We learn from the interns. You guys will take away some stuff. There's just some really cool stuff here, and we will keep championing in this. Interns in our office, and I know in the other commission offices as well, it's not just about making coffee and copies. We actually have some work for you to do, and we're thrilled to have you, and it's going to be a great summer. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second the motion
It's
to
been
adjourn.
moved and seconded to adjourn. We're definitely unanimous on that, so we're adjourned.